Hello, my name is Patricia Steinmeyer, and I am the Executive Director of the Illinois Association for Gifted Children. We are delighted to have Dr. Michele Kane here with us today to talk about strategies for helping your child to deal with the anxiety and cope during challenging times. It's particularly timely during this COVID-19 situation. But before we get going, I'd like to introduce Michele. She is the Professor Emerita of Special Education and a former coordinator of the Master of Arts in Gifted Education program at Northeastern Illinois University in Chicago. Michele has served on leadership roles on the National Association for Gifted Children Parent Advisory Committee and networking committees, and she is a past president of our organization, the Illinois Association for Gifted Children. Michele is the co-author with Dorothy Sisk of Planting Seeds of Mindfulness, Creating Conditions to Help Flourish and Bloom Intellectually, Emotionally, and Spiritually. So again, welcome, Dr. Kane. We are delighted to have you. What strategies do you recommend? How can parents and educators help their children with anxiety during this time?
Yeah, it's a really challenging time, Patsy. First of all, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be able to share on this really important topic. Stress and anxiety, especially for those people who are gifted, and we know gifted kids grow up to be gifted adults. So in the families right now that are containers where oftentimes there is a whole household of gifted individuals, it can really be a challenging time.
So your first strategy is to be present. So parents should be
Still stay
present.
very present with their own, first of all, their own selves, their own feelings, their own emotions, but also then to be very present for their children. And when I'm talking about children, I'm talking about the whole range from really little bitties all the way up until early adulthood, because we have a lot of folks who've come home from college and they're now back at home. And so we've got wide ranges in ages and families. And it's really important for parents to be able to carve out a little time to be able to stay present for each of the members of their family. And what do I mean by that? So sometimes that can happen where people are all doing things together. Maybe they're cooking together, or maybe they're, enjoying a funny program on TV. But also it means to be able to be present for those emotional flares that might happen and very likely will happen during these particular times, to be able to even do some one-on-one kind of time with each member of the family, and that may be at different times. And so we know families look all different kinds of ways. Sometimes we say family, we think of traditional families. Dr. Ellen Fiedler and I did a presentation. We found families could configure in 26 different ways. And so we have to accommodate and make those accommodations for the way that families are, but also that sense of presence is so important. And that, like I said, that can really be a challenge during challenging times, because we just don't know with that we have that wide emotional range, many of us, and then a lot of sensitivities. And so those sensitivities come into play oftentimes during times of tremendous stress like we're going through right now.
Yes, and as a parent, feeling stress ourselves, are there ways we can kind of check ourselves just to make sure we're present in the way you're speaking of? All at home, obviously we're close,
Right.
but we're all busy, really working.
Yeah.
Some people are teaching online. How do we deal with that?
I think an easy way, and it's a mindfulness strategy that you can practice with ease, is doing something called body scan. And so what you do is you can either start at your head or start at your toes, either place, and just kind of go through and see where your stress is residing. Each one of us has a stress profile. And so what could be for even twins, child A could have, exhibit stress with tummy aches, and child B could be headaches. And I know for me, I have this lovely little nerve right here that starts to twitch. And if I don't pay attention to that, it kind of will go up into a headache. And I really need to pay attention when my body's giving me the signals that I'm on overload. So that's one thing that you can do, is just to be able to check in with yourself really, really quickly and find out, where exactly that stress is manifesting. And the second thing that you could do very, very quickly too is just to do breaths, to do 3 deep cleansing breaths. We know that when the amygdala in the brain gets hijacked, that oftentimes it's that reptilian brain that's going to take over. And so one of the things that we can do, and it's an easy one, is a 4 square breath, where you just breathe in. You count to 4, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, and then you exhale. 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4. If you can do that 3 times, and I love this strategy because it's not expensive, it's portable, nobody needs to know you're doing it. For especially for those individuals who don't want the spotlight on them or the emphasis on them, this is a way to be able to calm down fairly quickly. And there are many apps. If that is something, I've resorted to that during this time of self-isolation and pandemic. There's some apps that I really like. Calm.com is one. LeBron James is their new spokesperson. One of the, and he's got a great voice. He's got a wonderful voice. And so sometimes just listening to somebody else walk you through, a calming visualization or meditation can really be helpful. You can do it by yourself. You can do it. You can do it with your people in your family, and I think that's really helpful. Another thing that can help is to have a signal word or a special word that indicates to the people around you that you're on overload. So whatever that is, right? So everybody knows that when you say, jackpot, that I'm ready to flip my lid, or whatever it is. And the other thing that I've read recently that I think is kind of funny is and yes, we want to own our own feelings, and yes, we want to experience things, but we're in unprecedented and times and uncharted territory. So it's sort of an outside way and saying, kind of taking a look around the landscape and saying, looks like Tigger's been at it again. All those toys didn't get put back in the box, or look at this. Tigger's left a huge mess all over the bathroom. I just can't understand why Tigger isn't picking up his towels. You kind of think it outside of yourself.
Yeah, and I love that idea of just really being present in the moment, maybe taking that time during the day with your child. What about talking to your child? Should we leave it up to our child to bring up what's going on if we know it's a stressful time? Should we try to be present in a way of asking a lot of questions?
Again, it just depends on the temperament of the child. If you have a child who tends to be more extroverted, that child is probably going to want to talk everything out. These are the kids who would come home from school, or if you're homeschooling, they want to process everything out loud. Everything they're thinking is coming out of their mouth. They want to share. They want to be able to be validated and understood and feel like somebody really hears them. But our introverted kids, and we know that in our gifted population, we tend to have more of a preponderance of gifted. And as the level of giftedness goes up, so does the level of introversion. Our research from Betty Meckstroth, quite a long time ago, showed us that. And so our introverted kids are probably not going to want to talk about things. And that doesn't mean that something's wrong with them. It can be an indication when people don't want to, when they truly go into themselves and self-isolate. But another way to do that is to offer opportunities that are nonverbal. And so one of those could be like a journal entry where it's maybe it's a shared family journal, and maybe it's a mom and son journal, or a dad daughter, or 2 parents, 2 moms and a child, each writing things down or drawing or making notes or doing things like that. Patsy, I love the work that I do with parents because I learn so much from parents. And this is one of the best strategies or tips that I ever learned from parents, is that, remember those old vis-a-vis markers or those whiteboard markers? Okay. So those things, you can use those, and they erase very, very easily on mirrors. So like in your bathroom mirror, you can write like little notes, and yeah, you can put little stuff in there, and it erases really easily, and people can leave notes back and forth, and the pick up the towels or write little pictures could go there. But also another strategy that I wanted to talk to you about was this idea of putting control into the world where it's just a world that just feels totally out of control. And so one way to do that is to put structure in. And again, this can be temperament. For some people who really like and need that structure, to have that planned out and organized for them daily so they know what to expect. And with little kids, it can be pictures, or on a piece of paper or wherever it is that you want to leave it, just so that people have an idea that, every day is going to be different. Like you said, working from home, mom's got a conference call at 10 o'clock till 11 and we can't have any noise. Or as one of my grandsons goes, shh, shh, he's 2.
So you think the need for control, that's an interesting strategy, especially at a time that's challenging like this one where there's so much
Right.
you can't control. But do you think it's harder for young children to lack that or older children, or do you think it resonates the same way? And, how can we help them with that? Because that's scary.
It is scary. It's totally scary. We're experiencing things the likes of which we've never experienced before, and we don't have good roadmaps on how to do that. And so I believe that one of the things that's really important is for the family to come together if they can, or maybe, again, just in however those combinations work best in families, to be able to communicate how to control the things that you can control. And so maybe it's something really small, okay? Like we can control how we're going to organize the meal for tonight, or we can control, the way we react to something. It really is within our power to be able to choose how to react. One of the things that I like a lot is the work of Dr. Marty Seligman, who wrote about the optimistic child. That work is older, but there are ways that you can actually coach to be able, when it looks like things are so bleak and so overwhelming and so dark, to be able to take a look at seeing what silver lining might be coming out of things.
I believe we're moving to your third strategy, which I think is kind of an interesting one. And you talk about building self-awareness. Talk a little bit about that third strategy.
Sure. I think that one of the things that's really important for high ability kids to have an understanding about is their own sense of, how they're wired. One of the things they notice very, very early on, probably from when they're really small, is that they're different from other folks. And so a lot of times if they're in a school situation, they understand that they catch on to things more quickly. They also may be self-aware enough to understand that even though they are the ones who can read everything, within sight, but they may lag behind in terms of their physical abilities. And so they're very self-aware oftentimes in those ways. And I found that it's really helpful. This goes back to my days even in the classroom and working as a gifted coordinator, to help kids understand, how does your brain work? Right? What's going on? What's going on for you, and how does it happen? There's a couple of things that I might suggest or recommend, especially during these times, that are easily accessed. Some people don't know that Goldie Hawn, the Hawn Foundation, she actually has used her philanthropic efforts towards mindfulness, and she has something called the Mind Up curriculum. It's on Scholastic. It's very reasonable, but she also has resources on her website, the Hawn Foundation, and it helps not just to be able to have those strategies about how to self-regulate and how to calm and how to find peaceful moments, but also to understand, why does it happen?
Seems like that strategy, that third strategy, kind of feeds into your second one, which is really recognizing that need for control. And once you understand how you might be reacting to a situation, to actually be able to take steps to and to calm yourself and regain your control.
Well, and something else that you could do is that, like I said, each person has a stress profile of what creates anxiety, or what creates, more of a reaction in certain situations. And one of the things that you could do is to generate a list of things together, even as a family. Okay, for person A, one of the things that they like to do is put their headphones on and go listen to quiet music and be by themselves. And for person B, it might mean, being in the kitchen. We know that bread baking right now has gone off the charts. Nobody can find yeast. So, it might be creating something and I don't mean to use, food or anything else as anything other than what it's intended to do, which is to comfort, and which is to create joy and a sense of um, of meaning and purpose that I think we can reclaim in this situation. I think that's the most important thing, is that, and I don't mean it in a Pollyanna way. I really have to be very careful about that. I don't mean to look at things with rose-colored glasses, but I do think that families right now are also finding a renaissance, if you will, in terms of that, of being together. The old metaphor of, everybody, it's like Grand Central Station, where everybody comes in on their track and then looks at the timetable and figures out where they're supposed to be and then goes out on a different track. That's not happening right now. And so I think, too, to treasure these times. One more thing I want to say, Patsy, about especially with parents as homeschoolers right now, a lot of the folks that I've talked to feel a tremendous pressure to be a teacher, and we know that parents are parents and caregivers. I want to expand that. It could be grandparents, whoever these caregivers are. We know that they're the first teachers, but to feel that yoke of having to have academic performance and doing all these kinds of things where they weren't prepared for it, and in some ways, it's not really meant for them. I think that there's a huge stress in feeling those kinds of things, and we got to be gentle with each other and be kind to ourselves and gentle with that. So,
and I really like that point of not strapping it on and becoming that feeling you have to become the teacher all the time, but rather, being in this moment of how we can bring some joy and some connectivity, and just take a minute and breathe. Thank you so much for these strategies, and thank you so
welcome.
much for this insight. I've taken a lot from this myself, but being present, recognizing the need for control, and building this physiological self-awareness are three places we can really focus. You have an upcoming event
Yeah.
that I was going to ask you to talk
Thanks.
about, if you would, for a minute.
So right now, currently, I'm on the board of the Coalition of Schools Educating Mindfully, and this organization started really as a support for teachers to be able to foster that ability to be able to find, that sense of peace and calm in the class, first of all within themselves and then within the classroom. But it's really for everybody. So fortunately, this organization was able to have their conference in February before all of the, everything moved so quickly into the isolation. And many of the sessions were videotaped. There's a new book out on educating mindfully, and so the authors were interviewed, and that's going to be a free upcoming summit that will be available at the end of this week. So anybody who wants to sign up for it is able to do so at no cost, and we would love to have folks join us.
Also, at the end of this interview, we have some resources for people. Please connect with us at the Illinois Association for Gifted Children. We have educator resources and parent resources on our webpage. The National Association for Gifted Children also has many resources, some which are wonderful at-home activities during this time of COVID-19. The SANG, Supporting Emotional Needs of Gifted, has some wonderful resources, as well as the Coalition of Schools educating mindfully. So there's many resources out there. We hope you will take advantage of them and stay connected with us. Dr. Kane, thank you so much for joining us today. And
Thanks,
I hope
Betsy.
you stay healthy and well during this time. We really appreciate your thoughts and hope that soon we can see everyone in person again. So
Right. And be well, take good care.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.